my name is Cherlyn, and I am from Macon, Georgia.
Cherlyn and her sister were raised by their grandmother. Their mother raised their 3 brothers.
My mother had got remarried, and when a new person came in the picture, my grandmother just like, okay, well, we'll take the 2 girls. I questioned her about not raising us, but she said my grandmother really didn't want to be alone.
Cherlyn admits she was a rebellious child, and after graduating from high school, Cheryl wanted her independence.
I still wanted to do what I wanted to do while I was in my grandma's house, but she said that wasn't happening. So I met this young guy by the name of Cherlyn, and we got married. He was the quiet type, and I was the wild one. A little drinking beginning, not that much, but just a little. I got married in 1976 and was divorced in 1979. After that, that's when my life really took out with the partying, drinking. Got involved with another young man by the name of Clifford Scott Sr.
But this relationship was no fairy tale. Due to Clifford's cheating, Cherlyn turned to a friend for support.
Well, we went to school together, and I knew she was gay, but I used to talk to her about things that were going on, but eventually we became a couple.
Soon, a family member would introduce Cherlyn to something that would change her life.
In the year of 1984, I was introduced to this drug called crack cocaine. Biggest mistake, but at the time it was fun.
Cherlyn would often neglect her son in search for her next high.
The drugs started using me. When I would run out of money, I would leave him in the house or get my neighbor to sit with him and until I get back to do whatever I need to do to get that drug. Sometime I would come back and sometime I wouldn't. So eventually I lost my apartment. I had nowhere to go. Then I started going to jails. I would get clean for a minute, and the next thing I know, I was back on that same route. That carried on for 30 years. So when I moved to Warner Robins in 1999, I think I had 18 months clean. I was going to Miller, Georgia Tech. I was clean then, so I was beginning to get my life back together. So Beatrice Holly, she invited me to church. I came down here with a person that was abusive, even though she was a female. And after one Sunday, we had a big argument, and I had a talk with Pastor Reed, and he told me the words of the Bible and what God wasn't pleased with. When I moved from Pam's house, and I told him we didn't have nowhere to live, so he put us up. It was the Holiday Inn on Watson. For 2 weeks, he fed us, and then he said, well, I got apartments that you guys can live in, 6 months rent-free. So I did. He also gave me an opportunity to work as a receptionist at the church.
This, however, was short-lived.
I moved next door to the dope man. I got back on drugs, and I strayed away again. My daughter, she was pregnant, and when she went to have my first grandbaby, I was getting high. And I was too busy getting high, and she kept calling me, I'm finna have my baby mama, but I couldn't stop using. And I had to beg the dope. I didn't ask God to help me to stop. I was like, dope, please let me go see my grandbaby be born.
Cherlyn, tired of her drug addiction, wanted to end it all.
I want to commit suicide. I sat on my porch on South Davis and was watching the cars go by. But it seemed like when no car come by fast and quick enough for me to just say, okay, let me get this over with.
Instead, Cherlyn dialed 911.
After the contemplating suicide, I promised myself up and down that I would not get out doing the same thing I was doing. Needless to say, the day that I got out, I stayed in there a couple of weeks. The day that I got out, I started back using.
Cherlyn met a special friend who would try to help her get on her feet.
That's when I met Horace Hickey. He gave me and my son a place to live. As time went by, I started back using. I took him through hell. I stole from him, and he did nothing but provided for me. And my kids, they used to ask me, Mama, are you tired of this? Are you tired of this lifestyle? You know, and I would say yes. I would get clean. Then about a couple of months later, I'd go back to using, and that was my life. In 2009, my mom had stents put in her leg at the hospital in Atlanta.
As her mother recovered in the hospital, Cherlyn finally looked to God for help.
June 21st, I prayed and I asked God to please don't let me leave Atlanta going back to Warner Robins and doing the same thing that I was doing. And I prayed every night that my mom was there. I got back to Macon, so I had to take care of her. In the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous or AA, they ask you to get a sponsor. So I called this lady that I have asked before doing my in and out, would she sponsor me? She said yes. I got clean at the age of 52 years old. At that time, it was during revival. I will never forget, Craig Oliver was preaching about Lazarus raising from the dead. And I came every night. And by that Friday, man, Cherlyn was raised from the dead. I had been delivered. And it's been ongoing ever since.
Cherlyn hopes her story inspires others.
I was at the Phoenix Center going into detox, you know, sharing about my experience, and then people know when they get out, they don't have to do this no more. That's a new way to live. My mom and I have a great relationship. My daughter, my two sons, my grandbabies love their grandmother. My life is an open book, you know. I'm not ashamed of what I've done. The thing is, if I go back to doing it, that's the shameful part. But I'm truly grateful for God, and I'm truly grateful for people, you know, seeing something in me that I really couldn't see for myself. So with that, you know, I'm just grateful that I don't have to use no matter what today. I can call on God. I can call on people in the fellowship, in my church fellowship, and I can just pray and ask God to continue to help me. And He'll do it. He didn't leave me out there. He didn't bring me this far to leave me, even when I want to give up. But I tie another knot in the rope and I keep hanging on. And that's my life.